looks so engaged.
She is. She's being a good girl, though.
I'm one of those parents that you have to act like you have some sense. It's good.
Mr. Clark, where are you from?
I'm almost tardy. Where am I from?
Yes.
I live in on McElroy Pike. I have a daughter in St. Charles and
Okay.
went to high school.
Okay. So are you representing high school or St. Charles? High school. All right.
Yeah, I graduated high school last
I am going to go ahead and start. Elementary is a little bit easier to take in. We get our overall score from achievement, which is how well our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students did in their subject areas. GAP, for Calvary Elementary, that's our free and reduced students, how well they did in those core subject areas, and then our growth scores, and that compares students from year to year and determines if they had growth overall. Some things that I'm super pumped about at Calvary Elementary School are science, social studies, writing, language, mechanics. Top score's 100. So you can see science has hit that twice in a row. We're just teasing it with language, mechanics, and social studies. We're just playing with it at this point. And then our writing, for this to be a we've always been tested in writing, but how we're tested has changed. The state average is a 58. We're at an 87, and I feel like this is an extreme growth positive point for Calvary, and I know exactly why all 4 of these are the way they are. Every day, every grade level at Calvary Elementary School has science, has social studies. Every grade level teaches writing. Every grade level teaches language mechanics, and it takes that K-5 dedication to pull off scores like that, top to bottom. Areas of concern and achievement, our ratings at 81.6. We pulled up a little bit in that, not as much as I'd like. Our math has gone down almost 5 points. Now, for reading, we do have that New Journeys textbook this school year that just got implemented in August, and that is really giving teachers tools and resources that match where the kids, what the state feels like the kids should be at. That is implemented, and I feel like will be a big push for our reading scores. Also, we've had MAP and Compass. The MAP test determined where they were at, new for elementary this year. Compass is the resource for that, and because Compass is so tailored, we are able to take that down to 1st grade. We are intervening now with super resources as low as we can get, because we actually have resources now that enable us to do that very easily for everybody. Math, we do use Math in Focus. It is across the board with that. It's a little harder to explain how we're taking care of math. One of the ways we're taking care of math is through MAP and Compass. We're intervening in the same way, going down as low as we can go. After Christmas, we're going to go down as low as kindergarten. Who is it that's already showing those little blips of gaps that we need to intervene with now and not wait a moment later? Another thing with math that I did this school year is I restructured who taught math and when it was taught, by who, and who got who. So an easy example for that is in 5th grade, I took my 2 5th grade teachers. They have a simultaneous math time. They teach math for an hour, 12:30 to 1:30. I took my proficient distinguished kids and I put them in a group, and they go to that teacher for math, and they're on like gangbusters. There's nothing holding them back at all. They're challenging each other. They're on fire. And then I took my apprentice novice kids and I put them with my most experienced teacher in the building, which is an idea that Mr. Hall and I actually talked about at the beginning of the year. I anticipated some results. You can't be under this teacher's supervision and not get results. What I didn't anticipate is these kids feel like their own cream of the crop. What these kids peeled off and doing their own things, all of a sudden kids that have always felt weak in math or deficient in math, they're getting called on, they feel safe to answer questions, they're saying things like, I'm really good at math this year. Just that head change for them in and of itself is producing students And they're actually, like if it's chapter 2 test day, my lower group tests the same day as my high group. They are tit for tat where they are in their instruction. So those are some things that we're doing at Calvary to take care of areas that we feel like achievement, you're talking about an 89.1 out of 100, but it's pretty flat. At some point, I want this to be a 90. I want this to be 100. That's going to take a lot of work and a lot of support. I feel like instructional coaches will be huge here. I love, because sometimes with achievement, they all look at me, and I'm the brains of the operation, which is sometimes a little scary because my well it'll run dry. With instructional coaches on board, getting those teachers coached, somebody that I can bounce off ideas with, master teachers, teacher performance goes up, student performance goes up. Our gap is it's down. We're well above the state average of 42 out of 61. These are kids for us that are free and reduced lunch. We've never labeled kids as hard as we have this school year. I know who these kids are. I know what group they're in for math. I know who's giving them the extra help. The teachers know. We've cross-referenced data in every which way that we can to make sure these kids are on a list to get extra reading and math support for this. Growth, I think, is something that the whole state should be proud of in all of Marion County. We grew, and really it's what attributes to our higher score. This is what helped our score. But if you look, we're 59.2. The state average is 59.9. So we're right at that state average, which tells me the whole state's growing, and all of Marion County is too. So this, I think, is a great category, and it's a category for us to say, we may not be here, and here, but we are. There's proof that we're moving forward. We're taking positive direction, and we're just going to have to continue to monitor these areas to keep. We're 1 point from distinguished. We will be distinguished. There's no question mark at the end of that. There's just a period. We will be next year. It's my goal.
How many points gain is great? Good.
Well,
mediocre.
the state defined it is a half a point is all it took us to get that progressing label because we were already proficient. And Mr. Pinkston had, is 3.4 hard to get? I thought we worked pretty hard to get the 3.4, but if I look at it, if you really just came from my growth score, that's really all, because this is down, this is the same. In fact, when we were preliminary pulling these together and I saw this, I was panicked. Then I saw this and I really panicked, and then this came in and saved us, basically. So, how hard, it takes some extreme dedication, top to bottom, to grow a school. 3.4 points, I feel like. But it can just be an area that sort of saves you. Right. The graduation rate saved the whole entire district. I mean, that's where our proficient label came from. It wasn't the growth elementary. While I'm proud of what we've done, we're this much of the big piece, because we're a fourth of the elementary schools that make up a third of the overall district score. So, it just depends. It's such a complicated formula, but to grow a bunch of points, 3-4 points, that's a pretty substantial gain, I feel, overall. But for us, it did come from third grade students took that first year, and we were able to improve them and the fifth grade students, fourth and fifth grade students, enough to demonstrate this.
So the way the state has it set up, okay, when we look at the scores next year, and just say we improve a point or a point and a half. I mean, a point and a half is to be celebrated. Because it's going to be an achievement.
I would think so. There's not a whole lot that you talk about a 100-point scale, and a 69.8 is distinguished based upon, we're in the 88th percentile. There's only 12% of the schools in the state that are performing better than a 68.8. So we rank, I don't think I mentioned that, but we ranked, of 730 elementary schools, we're 86, which I love. I'd love 85, I'd take 84, I'd take 83. I'm wanting that number. I would take number one.
Well, what separates Nah, never mind.
Ha.
Saved by the bell.
Yeah, probably. That looked like that was going to be a hard one to
Parking lot
answer.
come in.
Yeah. Parking lot called in.
All right, I've yet to make it on time, but I'm going to try to do better this week. My name's Brandon Barden. I'm the principal at the Area Technology Center. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of that data that Ms. Newcomb was talking to you about, specifically about the career readiness side of it. The first thing I want to do, and I've asked it to several of the groups, how many people know what it takes to actually be career ready? That's good. You know what it is. Career readiness has changed. I think a lot of people had the misconception that, I took 2 or 3 welding classes, I know how to weld, so I'm career ready. From an educational standpoint, that's not the case. There's a lot more aspects to it to be career ready. And I want to tell you some of the areas of emphasis that we're going to point towards to help make that happen. There's 2 aspects to being career ready. There's an academic portion and there's a technical portion. The academic portion, they have several different options that they can use to meet that academic side of career readiness. A couple of things that we focus on, or one in particular, is called a Word Keys test. Word Keys test is a test that is put together by ACT in cooperation with several business and industry leaders from around the country, and said we'd like for students to know this information if we're going to hire them when they come out of high school. If they can Word Keys. I brought some sample tests with me. There's 3 portions to the Word Keys test. There's an applied mathematics, there's a reading for information, which is kind of like reading instruction manuals and putting stuff together. I know everybody likes to do that. Kids don't particularly care for it either. And there's another one called locating for information, but the teacher was using it as a resource the other day. I haven't got it back. You can kind of glance at some of the questions that are in that Word Keys test. It may be questions on the applied math test, like calculate the cubic feet of concrete that it's going to take to fill this room up, calculate the cost of it. How many 2x4s is it going to take to build this house that's 30 by 50 feet in length and got this many size rooms in it? What is, we call it a takeoff, what's my takeoff on it? What's it going to cost? And coincidentally, when I'm speaking of house, we have a career coordinator right now. I don't know if that's his exact title or not. He's got our carpentry class is going out and building a house on site. We're kind of on the job training. And it's really neat to watch them do that. We started putting up the walls a couple of days ago. So they have to pass that test or the ASVAB test. Several of you may have taken the ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. They can pass that. They can go back to their ACT test. If they pass it, they can take the CAUTI test. I don't know a lot about it. Or they can pass the COMPASS test. Any of those things that they pass will get them half of what it takes to be career ready. Any of those. So we're going to try to focus on, we're not going to try to test them to death this year. If we see that they pass the ACT, we're not going to give them, if they're senior, we're not going to give them the Word Keys, because as far as credit's concerned, you're not going to get anything extra if they pass that test. There's only 2 options they have to be technically, the technical aspect of career readiness. Number 1 is another written test called the Kentucky Occupational Skills Standards Assessment. This is a test that manufacturers in Kentucky sat down and wrote specifically to the state and said, if we're going to hire your students, we'd like for them to know this information. It is program specific. If you had welding classes the whole time you've been at the Technology Center, you would take a manufacturing skill standards test. Automotive would take transportation, computers would take communications, allied health for nursing students. So they have to pass this or achieve an industry certification. Several people know, have heard the term certified welder. And I talk more about that because that's my background. I used to be a welder. We can give students a certification when they leave the Technology Center, if they can pass the test, through the Department of Transportation, that would allow them to go Ohio Bridge is putting a lot of bridges now over the Ohio River remote. We can certify a welder to go up there and start welding on those bridges because that's where that test comes from. If we can get them that certification, then they have the technical aspect of the career readiness. So they have to get COSA or an industry certification, then the work keys or ACT or ASVAB, KEO, I call it KEO, Compass. Some of those tests will make them college and career ready, while some of them will just make them career ready, depending on what combination of the two they get. Some results that we had from last year, as far as these tests are concerned, our COSA test, our skill standards test, we gave the test to 58 students. There are some stipulations to taking that test. You have to be in your third credit of a particular class. If you're a welding student, you have to be in your third class of welding. It can be a junior or a senior. We concentrate on the seniors. They're getting ready to leave, but we can give to juniors too. Of those 58 that we tested last year, only 19 passed. That's 33%. State average on this test is about 38. Really, really low as far as passing that test. But it is hard if you look through it, just a sample portion of it. It's a difficult test. I've taken the test. It's difficult. Our work keys, which I passed around earlier, we fared better than state average on it. We give it to 57, all seniors, we give it to 57 seniors. 38 of those passed, which is about 67%. State average is the lower 60s. So we've done fairly well on that. Our industry certification is an area of focus for us. We're going to work hard to get more students industry certified. We feel that will be as beneficial to them as anything they can achieve. If they're a certified welder when they leave high school, they get a big leg up when it comes time to fill out a resume if they're not going to go to college. If they're a certified welder, I know, again, I'm speaking from that, they got a big leg up. Last year we had 78 preparatory seniors, which means they were in the third credit of a particular class, but only 23 of them received some type of industry certification. The majority of them were MNAs, medical nursing assistants. Their total career readiness, out of 78 preparatory seniors, only 25 of them are deemed career ready. So we've got some work to do there. The ways that we're going to work on it, we want to work with the guidance counselors at the high school and the students as well. We want to make sure they know that in order to get this industry certification or take this COSA test, they have to take 3 classes in a row in a particular area. Welding, machine tool, whatever it is. If they bounce around on us, if they go from carpentry to welding to computers, there's no particular area we can give them the COSA test in. The requirements are you have to have 3 credit hours. That's deemed preparatory standard. So we want to make sure students know that early on in their high school career to make sure they stay on that career pathway. Our academic time, which we work with Mr. Abel at the high school, we get them for 1 hour a day, 2 days a week, and we're focusing on nothing but this stuff right here. This COSA test kind of crosses different areas. He may ask you a welding question here and a blueprint question over here, maybe something to do with OSHA requirements, occupational safety and health question over here. We're trying to cover as much of that as we can during academic.
That's for seniors.
Right now, we're just focusing on seniors. I take that back. Miss Milburn, our computer teacher, she's focusing on juniors as well because they're changing her COSA test next year. She got to sit in and write the questions. She said it's going to be quite a bit harder, so she's going to get as many through this year as possible. We want to make sure those seniors kind of going back and make sure that everybody knows what they need to be career ready. Staying in that career pathway. We're focusing on those industry certifications. Ms. Schlosser and the board are maybe working to offset some of the costs. Some of them are kind of expensive. Some of them, when I used to teach welding, if I could get the materials donated, it was free of charge. Some years I couldn't get it donated, so I had to implement a fee. There is a written portion to everything that's what we have a new program called the apprenticeship program. Students go out after Christmas work under a journeyman. If we can get them in that program, they're automatically career ready. That's very dependent on business and industry. Business and industry is not enrolled in the labor campus through this apprenticeship program, then we can't offer a lot of bell packages. So what we have right now. That's all I got.
They're the only ones that offer the state apprenticeship program?
Right now. We're a pilot school. There's only like 12 of us in the year that are offering it. This year they're even offering it. We're hoping that number will go up. Kitty Merritt's working with us right now. Hopefully we can talk to some of them and get them on board. They have to go through some procedures with the labor cabinet to get them on board. Yeah, right now, fundamentals in.
Sure. I mean, we're still signing those while we're waiting. We might as well start our discussion. If anybody has any comments, if anybody would like to make any comments, as far as the session we just went through, you're all welcome to make comments. Anybody in the audience there that would like to say anything, this is just an open discussion for a few minutes. So. I personally am, I learned quite a bit. I'm not going into detail about what I learned. I don't want you to know how stupid I was. But I'm not going to comment about things that I did see, what we were down in, what we were up in, that sort of thing, because I'm going to wait till next year and just see how we do from this year to next year. That's the principal and the superintendent's job and the teachers to see that we progress, and that's what we intend to do. But I'm gonna hold my comments until I compare next year with this year, since this is all new and this is all based on what we started at last year and where we are now. So we'll wait and see what happens next year. Although I was told by some teachers, we'll probably progress 8, 9, 10 points. So. Is that fair?
I've often said that retreat is one of the best things we do, where everybody is here together, everybody sees the same thing, and everybody discusses the same thing, and they hear it firsthand, they don't hear it secondhand from anyone. And I think someone, I won't mention no name, but through the groups tonight, and I think someone had a very good comment, and I was talking about the novelists, and she said, well, under the new guidelines, county, we're looking at just this, what's this one figure here? Did we improve on that score? And we're not looking at every category. And sometimes I think that happens, but I do think, Ms. Slosser said, did you learn anything? I said, yeah, we got too many novelists. And she said, yeah, and we got to do something about that.
Well, one of the things I picked up, and I hope she doesn't mind me commenting what she's doing at Calvary, is that there has been some informal discussions on it, and then he's taken high-performing teachers and work with low-performing students, swap out, and the test scores really improved dramatically. I mean, I thought if there's any one thing I could point out, hang my hat on, I'd be that right there. We've had some informal discussions about that, taking high-performing teachers, working with low-performing students. Now, I understand, though, also there's a follow-up comment. It could have some adverse consequences, but we don't know what they are yet. It hasn't been soon enough to know by taking low-performing teachers with high-performing students. But to understand, though, high-performing students are going to perform highly anyway.
And I want to finish up by saying that, we have a lot to celebrate. And don't get me wrong, because I appreciate every teacher out there, because, I know how hard you all work. So we have a lot to be thankful for. But I think the retreat gives us a good time to look at all the categories, and sometimes we see things that we wouldn't ordinarily see, and we get to see them together.
Anybody have any comments besides us?
Tim,
Time to shine.
what did you think about it?
I was impressed. I'm really impressed at the elementary level, and I think the more we attack the elementary level, we're going to reap the benefits at every level. So I think I think concentrating on getting these students involved at the elementary level is just going to continue on through the junior high and high school level.
I tend to agree with you. If we're gonna work on anything new, it needs to be early childhood.
Now, that was my comment. I think that came out of the discussion that we do need emphasis on early childhood. I think that's probably where some of the problem that we do have with reading, where it begins. And like I told someone, I heard someone just say today, I picked it on TV, that the low achieving students in the lower grades, that they just stay that way. So often when you lose them there, they're hard to bring up later on. And I think we've known that all along. It's just, it's what we do about it. And it starts at kindergarten. Yep. I guess even
I'd like to follow up on Tim's comment, because what he said about elementary. You know, when we talk about every child being college and career ready, and I think you all made a comment before we got started, if we have over 90% of our students graduating from high school, then what does that mean and what does that look like? And what I think in Marion County we want that to look like is what Mr. Abel's goal is he wants everyone to be college and career ready. If a child leaves Marion County High School and they have passed the DOT, which is the Department of Transportation welding assessment, when they leave here, what can they do with that? They not only have a high school diploma, but they also have a certificate, and they can actually go out and weld. But college and career readiness does not start when they walk through those front doors out at Marion County High School. That starts the day they walk in school. It actually starts the day they were born, but for public education, it starts the day they walk through school. And you know, I think what we have to do as a board and as councils, we all have to be willing to provide bold leadership, and we have to have a vision. And that's what we have to do. And that's not always easy. And that means that we have tough conversations. You know, we have to do what our motto says. We have to dream, and dream big. We have to believe in it, and then we got to do something about it. Because you can talk about it all day long. But the question is, what are we going to do? And we are in positions to do that. We are in positions to make sure that every child has an opportunity to make their dream come true. And what a better dream than to be college and or career ready. So that would be my comment with respect to what we talked about tonight.
Well, I think we got the resources in place to do that. Just the way this job's so attractive to me is the Technology Center, our FFA program, what our culinary department offers right now, what our interior design. We've got things that interest our students. We just need to emphasize the standards and the assessments that are going to make them more successful than what we've had to this point on those either industry certificates or skills assessments like the COSA that they've been taking.
I don't think I understood I knew the high school and the area tech center were connected. I don't think I understood the depth.
You come down every day, you see a number of kids going back and forth up that hill.
I knew they did, but I didn't realize the depth of it and how much it depends on the scores.
It's a valuable resource for us, and I think Mr. Martin and I can work really well together to get those students to career ready and college ready.
I think the principals did a really good job this evening presenting, and I think they made it easy to understand, don't you all?
I think you did a wonderful job, each and every one of you. And I mean that because I was really sizing you up, you know, one after the other to see how well you would do. And you kept my interest the whole time, and you explained it in terms that was easy for me to understand. I don't think anybody used an acronym tonight, and I don't know if y'all were threatened or what, but it worked. Well, y'all did a fine job.
One more if I may, and Ms. Schlosser said that takes bold leadership in some critical decisions. I think we made it about a month ago when I asked several of the principals about the Odyssey, the program that's been rolled out about a week and a half ago. And I think that's going to help us get where we want to go with the Odyssey. Unless you asked a question, there wasn't a whole lot of spoken up about it. But when they asked about it, though, they were excited about it. In fact, some of the weak areas, this is where we're going to use this Odyssey program to bring up the scores.
We have the kind of staff in this district, when you give them that opportunity, they're just going to make it happen. It's already happening in classrooms. It's already happening. And that's the good part about working in Marion County. And I'm assuming that from my principals that have just moved in here, I think that they would agree. It's a great place to work because we've got great kids and we've got great staff and we've got parents that support us. And the Odyssey program, the Compass Learning, that gives that parent, and I am a parent, you know, when I went to parent-teacher conference tonight, they handed me my Compass login. And so as a mommy, I can look at what that looks like, and I have the MAP scores. And then as an administrator, I can look at that, and as a teacher, we can look at it. But they're implementing this. We had the training on the 14th, and it's being implemented. Now, does it need to go further and outreach? Absolutely.
Oh, it's going to take.
But we've got it going, and so I'm excited. I'm excited about the future. And I do think that we have a board and site-based councils that do have the ability to make those decisions we need to have that vision for our children, because our children are the future of this community, each and every child.
I would like to ask to see if any of the principals, any of the teachers that's about Compass Learning, the Odyssey program, has it working there. What do you like about it?
Well, I think it helps with the low end because it maps out a pathway for students that may be struggling, but it also can help those students on the other end of the spectrum and push them forward. I know at Lebanon Elementary we're trying to meet the needs of all the students through ESS with, we have ESS for those that tested high on the scale in the MAP testing, and so their pathway is going to be on a different level than those that scored lower and are struggling. So I think that's one of the benefits, is that it meets the needs of every child, not just for those that are struggling or for those that are not having as much problem. So I think it's broad enough and specific enough at the same time to make it work for everybody.
And for me at the high school level, it's great for like grade recovery or remediation. Rather than having to let a student fail a class, it's so standards based that they can go back and recover a 9-week learning period and hopefully supplement or raise a grade that may have been a very low F. If they demonstrate an understanding of those standings or those standards and that content, hopefully that can supplement and offset that grade, as well as the credit recovery component that it has if a student doesn't pass the class. And that all goes into graduation rate. We want to keep that up.
I think the two greatest things about it is, as hard as a classroom teacher tries, differentiation is very, very difficult. But with Compass Learning, once we pop in that score, it's going to set that path for those individual students. And the second thing, I think, the students that are achieving at proficient and distinguished are students who've got computers at their homes. They're going to go home and they're going to use this stuff. Instead of being in school 6 hours a day, they may be in school 8 hours a day. So we're going to gain educational hours, and they're really not sitting in our facilities.
Well, I'm a teacher, and I've implemented it in my classroom, and I teach 2nd grade, and my kids like run to the computers. They're like, oh, we're doing Compass today. They think that it is nothing but fun, but they're learning, and they enjoy it, and they really try their best, and they're coming to me and telling me, oh, you know, I got 100 on this quiz, I really practiced. And it just, I like what they were saying about the learning paths. It targets what a student needs to work on, and it helps them practice, and it makes me feel like there's 24 of me instead of just one.
think it's really a good focus on student mastery as an administrator when you give out the passwords and you're looking at the data of all the students in your building. You can see it immediately. It's very easy to go through, so you can see what students have mastered, how teachers can model that mastery in their classroom. With middle school and the use of AR and AM, accelerated math, accelerated reader, I think that lends to reading because it's driven for every content area. And I'll piggyback on what Mr. Abel said about the standards. I mean, it really drives the standards as they change, and as we do lesson plans in the middle school, it really helps the teachers keep that focus. I mean, I really think it'll be very beneficial in the classroom, outside the classroom, in the home. I think the biggest thing that we're looking at is just the technology integration and you're trying to get that one-to-one for students where they can use that at home, whether it be on an iPad or, a laptop or, just giving that flexibility to that student. Because I think the more that they're on that, it will just lend to content mastery,
I heard one of the teachers say tonight that I can get on this system at nighttime and see what students are using Odyssey and how long they're using Odyssey. And the principal can get on there and see the entire student body in their building. And of course, our personnel director, Tim Lyons, can get on to see every student in the entire district, all 3,200 students, who's on there and how long they've been on there at nighttime. So they know who's studying at home at nighttime. As the gentleman back there said, we might stretch the school day from 6 hours to 8 hours, but the other 2 hours is on their own time, though. They work at their own leisure, this new program, Odyssey.
Well, I've heard enough. No. Any closing remarks before we adjourn? Mr. Pinkston?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.